So welcome everyone to our first webinar in the series called Beyond PDM. This first webinar will cover change management with Windchill. And before we start, I want to introduce the speakers of this webinar. So the biggest part of this webinar will be presented by my technical colleague, Dirk. And my name is Ina, and I'm a sales manager. I will present the introduction of the webinar and also some closing notes at the end. So first off, I'll talk about webinar environment. So there is a sidebar at the right, and there you can submit questions if you have any questions. And at the end of the session, we will see how much time there's left and probably answer some of the questions if there's time. If we don't have enough time, we will come back to you after the webinar and answer your questions personally. In the public chat, only Dirk and myself can put some general announcements. So use the private chat for asking questions. The agenda of today includes 5 parts. To start, I will give some context on our series of webinars called Beyond PDM. Then I will dive into the why of change management. And then Dirk will present the main part of the webinar where we will explain the different levels of change management. We will end with a summary, and then if there's time left, we will also answer some questions. So before we dive into the topic of today, I want to have a quick talk about the series of webinars that will follow. Series is called Beyond PDM. And the reason for this is that a lot of companies start their digital transformation with PDM, product data management. So with this series of webinars, we want to talk about what's next. What are the possible next steps once you have your engineering data organized? What is the additional value you can get out of your Windchill system? And if you look at the ideal scenario, you want to create a digital thread throughout the company. This digital thread is illustrated in this picture by the line of zeros and ones that goes through the whole company, from engineering to manufacturing, service, sales and marketing, and also management. And with this digital thread, you make sure that everyone is looking at the same data. The goal is eventually to provide the right data to the right person at the right time and in the right context across the extended value chain. This end goal is often achieved step by step. Of course, you cannot do everything at once. And often the first step is to optimize certain processes within departments. With this first step, the digital foundation is laid, is built. And then as a second step, you can also share this data between different departments. So you will break down the wall between the departments and you break down the silos, as we often say it. And in this way, teams will start working together because they will have the same data, the right data, and they can share it with each other. And eventually, you also want to further extend this across the whole value chain. So not only within the walls of your own company, but also with suppliers and even the customer. And in that way, you will get insights in the performance of your product in the field, and this bi-directional communication from customer to the different departments also creates new opportunities, like for example, data-driven design and closed-loop quality. So the first step in organizing data within departments is PDM. It often starts within engineering because that's also where the initial product data is created. And with PDM, product data is managed. And what do we mean with product data? It's all the data that describes the product. It can be CAD data, documents, data sheets, material information, and so on. Without PDM, the engineers are the center of all this product data. That's shown in this illustration. But the data is often scattered across different systems, different locations, and all the people that actually need this data, they will go to the engineer because he's a center, and they will ask to him or her, okay, where can I find it? And then the engineer will have to look for it. And even if the engineer is able to find the data quickly, yeah, he or she will still lose a lot of time by being the central contact point for all other departments that need product data. So this challenge is already solved with PDM, and that is where we see that a lot of companies are already today. And that also already gives a big advantage because people will have time, or engineers will have time to really do in engineering instead of helping the others. So with Windchill, a lot more can be reached than only managing product data, and that is shown in this slide. Of course, the product definition is a foundation, so that's why most companies start there. You need this before you can do the other steps, and that's also why it's the central point in this picture. But Windchill has a lot more capabilities to manage the whole life cycle of a product and not only the product data. And these capabilities are shown in this illustration. With Windchill, you can do, for example, BOM management, BOM transformation. You can perform manufacturing planning, do quality management, use parts classification for reuse, and so on. So there's really a lot of possibilities. It's like building blocks where you have a good foundation and then you can start building with the additional blocks on top of it. And so that's why we wanted to organize this series of webinars to give you more insights on the additional capabilities of Windchill and to make sure that our customers get more value out of their Windchill and really use it as an enterprise system. So not only as a system for managing engineering data. So now we make the bridge to our first topic. It's change management. And when we look closer at what we often see in companies, we see that the number of changes is always increasing. Companies are dealing with more complex products, more product variants, more suppliers, shorter product cycles, and basically that causes more changes. On the other hand, a lot of companies are still managing these changes with manual processes and disconnected tools, and that actually leads to problems like delayed changes or changes are not completed. There is no good overview. And sometimes there's also a dependency on one person, as some companies have a change manager, and then they really depend on that person to manage all the changes. Um, and in the industry, there are some industry studies, and they show that engineering teams can spend up to 30% of their time managing changes instead of actual engineering work. So that's why we feel like change management is something that can bring a lot of value to companies. And of course, I can already hear a lot of you thinking like, okay, but we are doing change management. We have procedures, we have processes. We just don't do it within Windchill. And of course, that's also already a first step. But still, there's some disadvantages of manual change management. And yeah, what we see is that often other systems are being used for change management, like Excel files, emails, a lot of meetings or some notes in ERP. And basically, that makes the process slow and also difficult to control because it's also not linked to the actual data where the changes need to be done. Um, for instance, some of the consequences are that engineers are not sure which version of a document is correct, and also very important, the ERP and the engineering data are not synchronized, and that is very important. Um, from our experience, this creates also a lot of interactions, meetings, just to understand the changes, where are we, and so on. So by doing change management in Windchill, a lot of value can be created for the enterprise. There will be increased understanding of the changes, better quality, more control, increased efficiency, and savings in time and money. And on the other hand, Windchill change management also decreases the total lead time. There will be less errors, less manual handovers, fewer resources. And yeah, you can think, okay, do we need less people? But I think fewer resources also means like more resources for actual value added work. So it's not like you don't need those people, but they can just focus on the more important work. And yeah, eventually you'll also have less rework and scrap. So that are some of the values for change management with Windchill. Okay, so now I'll pass the word to Dirk. He will explain you what is change management.
Thank you, Ina, for the introduction and explaining why there's a need for Windchill change management. In this webinar, I'm going to talk about what is change management. Change management in Windchill is not straightforward. It's not just a matter of saying yes or no to an implementation. And yeah, to help you today to navigate this to this complexity, we've defined maturity levels, and we'll explore these levels today in this webinar. And so all these maturity levels are, yeah, that's what we see at customers. And so we explain the relevant information for these maturity levels. Today audience is not mainly is mainly Windchill user that maybe already have Windchill change management. For more perspective in Optus, we looked at the market and how companies work today, and based on that we defined this maturity levels in the first place only for this webinar. And what we see at most companies, they have been working for a certain way for many years, and they often don't realize how many improvements Windchill can support. And from our experience, companies start very basic with Windchill. So they're not starting with the complete change process already. And often they start with only release within Windchill. Yeah, we go step by step through these maturity levels. So we explore the current situation and the problems and the improvements for each level. We also look at the additional functionality that's mainly at level 6, and functionality like redlining and variances and closed loop quality management we're going to explain. Let's take a closer look at these levels. Maybe you can already recognize where your company is today. We want to show you, we have a poll questionnaire, and maybe you can already answer on which level your company is at this moment. I will explain later on what we can do with this questionnaire. So yeah, the first level, do you only use promotion request? Second level, only change notices. And maybe the third level that you already start maybe with a change request or problem report before you start the change notice. Level 4 is for the full Windchill process, but just only for the engineering department. Level 5 is included the complete enterprise, and maybe level 6 you maybe have already some of the additional functionalities already available. And we wait to the end of the. So we only have 30 seconds left that you can fill in your level. So please fill in the questionnaire.
You can see that a lot of people are on level 1, few of them level 2, 3 and 4 we don't have any. And there are also some people already at level 5, so that's already more advanced.
Yes, but not many companies with level 6 already with additional functionality. This, it's also very important to explain today.
Okay, I think that was the end of the poll.
Yes, that was the end. So let's resume with this webinar. This leads us to the explanation of the maturity levels. First, level 1, this is the lowest maturity level. There's no real change process in place yet. From our experience, many companies start like this when they first implement Windchill. And what we see here is an overview of the change process at level 1. In every change process, we have different stages, and the first stage is the problem intake. And after that, there's a decision making, and then the execution of the change, so the engineering change, and after that, the implementation, and the change is also sent to the other departments. And at this level, the process is still quite disconnected. The changes are managed outside Windchill. Problems or improvements come in via email. We managed all change-related information in an Excel spreadsheet, or maybe another tool such as Jira, or another disconnected tool what is not connected to Windchill. The next step for decision making, often there's no formal investigation for cost of feasibility. All documentation is stored in unorganized files outside Windchill, and maybe it is also lost in an email box from someone's email. And after that, they assign the task or work to execute the change through meetings, or maybe an email is sent to an engineer. There's no digital link between the problem in Excel or another tool and the change within Windchill. And the next step, the engineer does his working in CAD. When they are finished, they create a promotion request, and the promotion request is only used to release the files. It does not explain why something is changed. And next, after the data is released, there's an implementation stage. The data from within Windchill is exported with an Excel file. This data is added to an ERP system by hand, which creates risk and delays in the process. Finally, we notify the other departments like quality, manufacturing via an email. So in summary, in level 1, all departments work in loose silos. They use their own tools, their own spreadsheets, and there is no single source of truth for the change. And we call this a disconnected process. Brings us to the next level. So they already start with releasing in Windchill, but not with an actual change management within Windchill. And at level 2, companies start with Windchill change management, and that's only for the change notice. And here is the overview again. The only thing that's changed is the engineering change. Engineers create a change notice by themselves, and so instead of just promoting CAD files, we now use change notices. And the change notice is used to formally describe what needs to be changed, and you can also describe what is changed, of why it is changed. And in the change notice, you can create tasks to execute the change itself. And this level already improves traceability, whereas who is involved in the change, and the documentation, the process control is already improved. But on the other hand, the process is still mainly focused on the engineering change within Windchill and changing the CAD data. The teams still work in silos, and the manufacturing is poorly informed and hears about the change later with the insufficient information. So this process is still very scattered at this moment, but it's already a foundation for the next step. So they already are familiar with the change notice, and they have all advantages, and that's there's a streamlined process flow already. It also increased the visibility for the change activities, which items are affected by the change or resulted. And also, when CAD users work in the CAD tool, they see that there is a pending change. And also, it's eliminating communication and rework due to missing data. So it helps engineers understanding the change before they start their work to modify the CAD files. So now move on to level 3. Here we introduce a problem report or change notice. For this level, not both yet. This is to prevent that the process is already too complex at this stage. So basically, they start with managing a sort of change log with all the changes that needs to be resolved, and they do it already in maybe in another system. So they start creating the changes in Windchill after that they are defined. And in this situation, issues still arrive mostly via emails or through meetings. And change admins create a problem report or change request, and this creates a central change log. And there you can add your files or your comments to that object type. And often the decision making still happens outside Windchill. So we have planning meetings and change meetings outside Windchill. But this information can also be added to this change log that is a problem report or a change request. And after that, the other users can easily find this information later on in Windchill. And what we see at this level is already it brings value to a company, because people can finally see if there is a pending change and why something is changed and who is involved. And it's still a simple process, and it's an ideal next step to onboard the change team to Windchill. So not only the engineering team, but also other disciplines are involved now. And so they also can become familiar with the Windchill system already. So you can see here that this blue color is already in the Windchill system. A lot of processes outside Windchill and must be done manually, but some processes are already automatically done within Windchill. Brings us to level 4, and here we implement the full CM2 engineering change process. CM2 is an industry standard framework for change management in production companies. Windchill change management is based on this framework. And yeah, I think that it's very important to follow these industry standards because yeah, it has already proven itself to be effective. If you are unfamiliar with CM2, we recommend to explore the framework further to understand the benefits, and this will help you during the implementation of Windchill change management. And as I mentioned, yeah, we implement the full CMT process. It includes now in the beginning a problem report for problem intake or maybe improvements. After that, for decision making, there's a change request, and for planning the change, for the execution of the change, there's a change notice. And so what you can see there, at this level, we can finally involve more departments. For instance, production, quality or planning. They can submit problem reports directly within Windchill. So you see here that they have maybe their own PC where they can search in Windchill and create a problem report directly in the system. And in Windchill, it can be done in Windchill itself, but there's also Windchill Navigate. That's a more easier user interface to use, and they can easily create the problem report there and create a report with all relevant information, such as an attachment, maybe photos, or the information that is needed to investigate if the problem is really a problem. If the problem is approved, the next step is to make a decision if the change needs to be done, and that can be therefore is the change request, and we analyze the change there. The people are involved, receive tasks, and we can add documents for feasibility, maybe the cost impact, maybe the time impact for the planning, and also risks can be added. And all this information is important, and it's available in Windchill for all the involved people, and it's important because it strengthens the decision making. And yeah, in the task, they receive tasks so they can fill in the information that is needed. And after the change request is approved, then the next step is creating a change notice. Oh, sorry, the change notice with the change task to execute the change. And that's for now for the engineering department. And when they are finished and everything is released, at this moment you can also create an automatic connection between Windchill and the ERP system to automatically send the updates to an ERP system. So you don't have to do it by hand at this situation. And yeah, this level already brings a lot of improvements, but after the engineering change is resolved, the next steps, the executing the change for the manufacturing or quality of service is still outside the system. And so that brings us to the next step, level 5. And at this level, the complete CM2 process exists, but the enterprise is not yet, yeah, that's in level 4, it's not connected. If we go to level 5, we have the complete process for the complete organization. And so at this level, all the departments are truly integrated into the Windchill system. All users can create problem reports by themselves. So they have connection to Windchill and create a problem report within Windchill. The change request is fully in Windchill. All the other departments receive tasks, and after that, execution for the change is not only engineering anymore, but the complete enterprise is on board in change of in Windchill. And let's take a closer look to this change notice implementation. We can create different tasks, so there's also other disciplines involved, maybe electronics or software. So even software can be added as Windchill users and manage their data within Windchill, and they receive a task to perform their changes in Windchill. The next, if the engineering change is finished, the next step is automatically triggered in the system, so the manufacturing receive a task for their changes, and next also the service and quality is involved and receive automatically the task in the system, so everything is within Windchill. And in our experience, this is where companies see the greatest improvements in change lead times, team collaboration, and this is also, I think Ina already mentioned this. This is where PTC digital thread vision becomes reality. So linking design with manufacturing, quality, and service, and it's all in one single system. So at this situation, Windchill change management brings value in the organization. It brings now, for example, automation of the process, the complete process. You have visibility in Windchill. There's traceability, and the coordination is improved, and accuracy is also there. They are all pillars for a successful change implementation. And what we see in practice is that once companies start using Windchill change management for the complete enterprise, the errors drops, rework decreases, and collaboration improves. There's no need for an email anymore. Brings us to level 6. Here we have already, in 5, we have already the complete organization in Windchill for executing the change, but there's a lot of more functionality available within Windchill. And these are the topics we defined for today. First, redlining, the variances to manage variances within Windchill. We have reviews, and there's the possibility to start with closed loop quality processes. So you don't have to implement all of them, but yeah, they are powerful when there's a need in the organization, and yeah, you can manage them within Windchill. First, introduction to BOM redlining. Why do you need BOM redlining? In the organization, there are a lot of sort of roadblocks that you will face with the change in intent planning. For example, when teams want to plan modification to a bill of material, it's often unclear what the goal is and what needs to be changed. And there are also multiple type of intents and multiple actions, and also multiple people are working on the same structure, and basically also people also struggle with out of order changes. What do I mean with that? For example, when there's a long-term improvement that's being analyzed, so there's already a change notice of change request and change notice, but there's also a need for a short-term urgent issue that needs to be modified, and that requires immediate action or an update. And yeah, that's makes it difficult to validate what is really required for both changes. And without this tool, this become chaotic in the system. And when you start with change redlining, the bill of material redline feature lets multiple users plan the change to the same objects at the same time. And that's without creating a new revision already of it. So you can create, yeah, when something is released, you can create a BOM redlining object. And so you can already create a new revision for as a redline object, identify what needs to be changed, and this BOM redlining can be used by the engineer. It's sort of sketching the first plan instead of directly adding the structure. And yeah, red lines help teams to understand the change intent, support out of order execution, and makes the planning more flexible. And we can create these red lines in a change notice directly at the change task. There are new columns added so that you have the change intent, and the red line column is added. And when there is a red line created, you can open it and you can see the BOM red line object and see what needs to be changed. And the red line object can be added in the red line editor, and there you can add actions like attribute updates or insert new parts or replace parts. Also, substitutes can be managed or added to this this red line object. And when you have multiple redline objects to an object, the system detects if there are conflicts, and when there are conflicts, there's a suspect flag added to the object. And yeah, this helps to ensure a clean execution later. So to bring us to a short demo of this functionality. So for a selected part, a change notice is created, and on the change summary there's the change task object, and you see there that you can create the red line object for it. And when you click on that, the red line object is created, and then you can provide this object with the change intent, why it needs to be changed and what needs to be changed. First, in this demo, let's check it. The video is running already. Oh. It's now it's running again. So you can select the object and you can right mouse button click on it, and there's some delay in the video, but here you have a menu to insert or remove an object or replace it or modify an attribute. Also, the user's attributes can be modified. Now here you have the menu, click on edit, and it uses attributes. You can modify for example, the reference designator, and when you click on OK, it's indicated as red, so it's indicated it's modified. And you can also click on replace, so replace with a new part. And the original file is still released, but you can already define the change intent for this Windchill part. And you can build to your future CAD already, and here you see the overview, what is changed. You see here the reference designator is updated, and there's a replacement part here indicated in the list. So that's in a quick demo how BOM redlining will work. You can also create update the substructure in the same BOM redlining object. So this will help with the planning the change and when you have a lot of changes at the same time. Brings us to the next functionality. That's the review object. The review will help you help the team evaluate if the CAD or the part of document or any other related data is you can approve it, and you can choose between a simple peer review, maybe by a colleague, or a formal design review, and you can add checklists to it, and you create an object here for to have a formal change object that is also linked for to the release part, and you can see what is checked during the review. So that's the review that can be added to the change. And additional, we have also another functionality to improve the quality of your data, and that is the business rules within Windchill. So in the change process, we can define business rules, and the system automatically checks what if the data is according these business rules. So, for example, you can check for lifecycle state, or if attributes are not empty, data maturity is already there, and so this when you create business rules, you have the right checks at the right time, and so it improves efficiency. So you don't have to review it by hand, all these attributes within Windchill. It is checked automatically, and it's also flexible, so you can create custom rules in it. So you have maybe your own custom checks, and we can add it as a business rule to Windchill. And when you have automatically checked data, this means a faster process, fewer errors, because they can not forget to check this. It will be done automatically, and so everything is more reliable in Windchill. Brings us to variances, and a variance in Windchill is an authorized temporary deviation from the as designed configuration, and this can be allowed for a certain quality or a batch or time period, and you have two types of variances, and the first one is deviation, and that's a planned departure before the part is built. So for example, supplier cannot deliver a specific connector, so temporary another connector is allowed for the next 30 units or something. So that's before the production is started. And the next object is the waiver. It's an acceptance of non-conformers during the production itself. So maybe during the production, someone made a mistake, and yeah, they can throw it away, but they checked it and they approved it. So the production is allowed to use this instead of scrapping it. It's accepting a defect that has no functional impact. So with these objects, with these processes, such as variances, you prevent production delays, but you have still the full traceability within Windchill that something is different produced. And here's the complete overview of the process with the problem reports and the change request and change notes included. So it's a more or less a similar object as objects in the change process. So it's also fully integrated with the rest of the chains. And this brings us to the next object. That is the objects for the quality loop, the closed quality loop, and disconnect quality issues with the changes and with the change process inside Windchill. It creates a digital, sort of thread that connects customer complaints and field data to the engineering, manufacturing, and services. It contains audits, perform internal and supplier audits to ensure that the key corporate processes, requirements, and the directive are being followed. And it tracks non-conformances, and that's you can also for customer experience management, you can manage that. So capture all customer feedback, including customer complaints. And in the overview, you see the CAPA object that's for corrective and preventive actions. So to prevent recurring issues and to prevent them. So prevent them before they actually happens. And also this process is fully integrated with the change management workflow. And it's also closed loop. So if the change is finished and resolved, the rest of the objects will also be closed and resolved, and involved people will be informed. So when companies have recurring quality incidents, or they must comply with standards or audits, and when they want to have a better alignment between engineering and quality, it's good to start with the closed loop quality management functionality within Windchill. So that brings us to the last chapter of my part of this demo. Let's talk about the dashboards and reporting. And when you use Windchill and change management, you can create dashboards. So that gives you real-time visibility into the running changes, maybe the bottlenecks of the workload in the organization directly. If someone has 20 or more tasks on his name, then you can see it on the dashboards. So in Windchill, we have some summary reports that helps you to understand the change, what is blocked and what is upcoming. And as well, you can extend this with maybe some query builders or Jasper reports. You can create your own reports. You can create ThingWorx mashups, or even other tools such as Power BI can be connected to Windchill to make your own dashboards, and also add data from other software at the same dashboards. So from our experience, companies often with dashboards, companies often realize that how much is going on in the organization when they have these dashboards, and where the layer actually happens for implementing the changes. and it helps. This helps for the lead time of the changes. So the summary of these levels. So we have all these different kind of levels. First with promotion request, level 2 with the foundation with the change notice, and after that they can add a problem report or a change request. The next step is to have problem report, change request, and change notice implemented. They can already have an ERP connection. At level 5, we have the full process and use maybe dashboards for viewing the change. They can use digital review, BOM redlining, and variances, maybe quality. But yeah, what we see is at level 6, yeah, they start with all these additional functionality. So they are in level 6. So these are all the maturity levels in one table. So let's move back to the visual overview of the maturity levels, and we asked on which level you are. But the next question is, yeah, we launched the poll again, and please let us know where you want to go to as a company. What is your next step of your company? So I will start. The next question, and the goal for giving us this information is that we can proactively try to support companies for implementing the next step for change management. So we wait 1 minute for this to answer this question, and I want to give the back. So this is it from my side. I like now to hand over the floor back to Ine. And
Yes,
for the
thank you.
closure of the session.
Thank you, Dirk. It's very interesting to hear all the different levels, and hopefully this also gives some insight and inspiration to everyone. When I'm looking to the results of the poll, I can see that a lot of it's the answers are really spread over the different levels. So some people are saying, okay, level 3 is enough for me. Others are looking towards level 4, 5, and 6. So yeah, there are some differences, but of course it also depends on your company. It's not like everyone needs all the complete full blown change management. It really depends on your particular situation. Okay. Okay, the poll is ended. Thank you for answering this. It also gives us an idea where are you today, where you want to go. So then, as a last slide for this webinar, I just wanted to go back to the value that change management can bring to the organization, because we talked a lot about the functionalities itself. But if you zoom out, what is the value? Dirk, can you move to the last slide?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so one of the biggest benefits is real-time visibility, yeah, because those dashboards really provide insight into open tasks, who is responsible, what are the bottlenecks. Manual updates are also not needed, so those overviews are always up to date. And in that way, teams can really understand the changes and also in advance take into account the impact of those changes. Secondly, with Windchill change management, you also have one single system for all changes. It's one integrated system to manage the problems, change requests, change notices. And one of the big advantages is as well that you have a direct link to the products and parts and documents to which these changes apply. And in that way, the enterprise is enabled to participate in change processes, and you can really make good decisions with the full enterprise involvement instead of only engineering or only manufacturing and being separate silos who throw information to each other. The third advantage is distributed workload and collaboration. With that, we mean that you can easily assign the tasks to multiple people, and it's not anymore change management is not anymore the task of one person, of one change manager. So that makes it, makes it better, makes it easier to manage. And then eventually, I think the most important one is that people will have more time and more focus on value added work. They have to spend less time on really tracking and follow up changes. There will be less scrap and rework, and they can really focus and spend their time on real engineering and innovation instead of administrative tasks. Okay, so if we look at the questions,
Yeah,
uh, there
let's
are
see.
some, there are some specific questions. We will come back to these people separately. And someone is also asking whether the slides or the presentation can be shared after the meeting. Yeah, that's no problem. If you have interest, you can contact us. The person who asked the question will, of course, receive the slides. The webinar is also recorded, so if you want to look back at it or share it with other people within your organization, we can also share the link to the recording of the webinar.
Okay. Also, another small question I see is, yeah, what's the impact on the licenses? I think if we involve more people in Windchill, you have to create more users. They need licenses, so that's the impact on the licenses with the Windchill. So then, they probably need a contribute license to contribute in the change. They can also do a lot of more things in Windchill at that level. So it's not only contributing in the change. So that's depends on the organization what the impact is on the licenses.
Yeah, I think, Dirk, that's a good note in general that involving more people from the organization in Windchill. Of course, they will also need licenses, but there's a lot of other advantages that they can get out of their interaction with Windchill as well. So, and maybe that's also a good bridge towards my last slide, where I want to also give you an idea of what's next in our Beyond PDM webinars. So the next webinar will be on the 21st of April, and we will talk about configure to order. So there will be more webinars. They will be announced through LinkedIn, mailing. They will be visible on our website. So we hope to see you in other webinars as well. Thank you very much for your attendance and hope to talk to you soon.